I feel very important now. That was a great introduction. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So again, I'm Chaz Lester. Thank you. So so that thing I just did, like Cam said, I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats, but one of my favorite is the beatbox. Some people call it vocal percussion. Some of you may never have heard of it. Probably most of you have, but just a little background. So I started beatboxing when I was probably about your guys' age. I was like 15 or 16. And I was singing at the time. I was really into jazz and punk rock, actually, and all kinds of cool music like that. And just a wide swath of stuff. And a friend of mine hit me to this guy who was named Rozelle. It's kind of a funny name, but he was a beatboxer, like I am. And I was totally enamored. Like I heard this recording, and my buddy was like, dude, this is a guy with his mouth. There's no drums. I was like, get out of here. No way. And I listened, and I was like, oh, my gosh, it really is a guy with his mouth. And right there and then, I was like, I am going to figure that out. I'm going to be really good at that. And it was funny. Oddly enough, the reaction I got from a lot of people were like, well, just don't shoot too high. You know, that sounds really difficult. I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to figure that out. And here we are. So, but what I realized after, I started doing it like a half hour and then an hour a day, 3 hours a day, 6 hours a day. Not kidding. Much to the dismay of my friends and family. My mother would be like, whenever she was like, honey, I love you, I know the next words were, I need you to shut up. Just for like 5 minutes, okay? Just give me 5 minutes. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, Mom. I can still hear you. I'm like, so sorry. Because I almost forget, it's like a nervous twitch. But what I realized after I started getting into it, at first, truthfully, I was like, I got into it because I enjoyed it, but also it was kind of a way to like impress girls, which I know was kind of disingenuous. But I started to see sort of the artistry in it. And then what I really realized was when I did this thing in for other people, their eyes like lit up and they were like, whoa. And the reaction I got was some people would be like almost like bewildered, like they were like, what's the gag? Like, you're not doing that. And then some people were like, would laugh. They'd be like, oh my God. Oh my, what do you? Which was, at first I was like, I didn't get it, but then I realized they were just, sometimes when people are having a great time, they just laugh, right? They were being joyful. Joyful, that's the word, joyful, okay? And what I realized is this pushed me to share my sort of odd skill set with a lot of other people. So I started doing it with other musicians, anybody would want to hear me. I'd be like, you want to hear this thing? I could, and they would be like, oh, that's great, So yeah, so. Thank you. Cool. All right. So this idea of joy, okay, the word joy, we've all heard it. So it's really important to me, and really, really important to me, and I think it's important to you too. But I'm concerned that people are snubbing their own joy out of concern from the judgment of others. These moments, this idea of joy and engaging your joy and owning it, those moments, some of the moments when that happens, or I see other people have, like somebody else is experiencing joy, and I kind of like ripple effect. Those are the moments that are incredible. For example, recently, well, maybe a few months ago, I was beatboxing. I was doing a little exhibition at a school in Portland, and I was just beatboxing, kind of like I'm doing for you guys right now. And there was this little boy who couldn't have been more than, I don't know, 3 years old, 2 or 3 years old. It's a little guy. And I was beatboxing. I just started beatboxing, you know, doing what I do. And he started to laugh, like really laugh. It was hilarious. Because he like, imagine he's this tall, but he's like head back, like eyes closed, hands on his belly, like, just laughing his butt off. He laughed so much that his mother started to laugh. And then the people around the little boy started to laugh, and then the people around those people started to laugh. It was like this ripple effect of silliness. And it was awesome because it started with literally this little boy who was completely unencumbered. He didn't care. He didn't care what other people thought. He just purely was like, this guy is hilarious. I love the funny noises he's making. Ha, 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 ha. And that's where he was at. He was living in that moment. And then the people, he was so joyful that the other people forgot to be concerned what other people thought. And they just like owned in this experience. It was like this communal sense of joy that I had the honor of sort of sparking. And those are the moments that like I live for, that like those are the moments that I come back to and I remember and move me and remember to live that joy and to own it. I have a question, and this is, again, this idea of joy is really important to me. And I'm concerned that, you know, well, here's a question. Let me point a question to you. And raise your mind hand. Don't actually raise your hand. But how many people here have had a moment of joy, whether it be through music or art, or it could be a card game, it could be food, anything. You're really excited, and you're like, oh, my God, this is so awesome. But you're concerned that another person is going to judge you by the way you react to your joy. How many people here, again, you don't have to raise your hand or anything, just think about it. How many people here have had this thing that's just so visceral and so incredible to you and moves you, and like talking about it gives me goosebumps. I'm like, oh, 'cause I know those things that give me joy. But you're not overt about it because you're concerned about what maybe a total stranger thinks. That's sad. That's sad. I think if you have joy, it doesn't matter, you know, what does it matter what that other person thinks? You know, for example, sometimes I'll go to concerts, and I buy into it too sometimes. I'll go to a concert, I'm really excited to see someone, you know, at the State Theater or something like that, and I go, and maybe I want to move. Like, I just want to, like, move. It doesn't matter. I could spin around in circles if that's what gives me joy, you know. But then sometimes I'm like, well, there's just a complete stranger. Oh, he might not think I'm cool. Like, what does it matter? Who cares? Like, do that. Own it, because those don't come all the time, you know. People get so caught up in their lives, the day-to-day, we all do it, that we miss those moments. So when they come, don't be afraid. Like, own it. You know, it scares me. The moments where we should be the most jovial and the most, like, exuberant and overt about our joy, we're, like, quiet and we snub it. And that's not good. That's when anxiety comes, and that's when, you know, passive aggressiveness comes, and that's not good stuff. And you just be overt, be happy, you know, because they don't happen all the time. For example, and this is sort of a sociological experiment that I did. I went to a grocery store in Portland. I went to Hanford, and I did this. I swear to God. I went to the frozen food section, and I just started beatboxing loudly. So I just started beatboxing in the frozen food section, right? I literally just stood in the frozen food section and was like, and I dance. I usually move around because I can't not do it. So I beatboxed, right? And what was a bummer was people were embarrassed for me. I watched people be embarrassed for me. And I wasn't embarrassed at all. I was having a good time. Yeah, right. Exactly. Thank you for whoever clapped. You know, I mean, yeah, right. Yeah, own it. You know, have a good time. Why not? I'm not hurting anybody, right? Granted, there might be somebody trying to get by with a card or something, and I'm kind of obstructing. But aside from that, I'm really not doing anything wrong. But it made me sad that, like, literally other people were embarrassed for me. Like, why? I'm having fun. You should have fun too. Like, why? Because what it is, it comes from a place where, like, well, I couldn't do that. So, look at this guy just making noises. I can't believe this. There was one gentleman that walked by and was like, yeah, as he pushed his cart. And I was like, thank you, sir. Have a good day. Right. But it it made me sad, right? Because, like I said, those moments don't come around very often. And when they do, you gotta grab them by the horns and just own it and love it. Because yeah, whatever that vehicle is for you, whether it's, you know, music or another love or just friendship, or could be that, you know, that particular food that you haven't had in a long time. You're like, oh my God, this is so awesome. I get excited about food. I don't know about you guys, but you gotta own that stuff. You gotta totally own it and just be in the moment. Okay, so embrace the joy. That's what, if you leave with nothing else from my talk today, is these 3 words: embrace the joy. Really, really, really. Okay, go out into beatbox. You guys want to hear a little more beatbox? All right. I like that. Ooh, that was good. To the back, to the side, this side, to the people in the TED Talk shirts. I am Iron Man. I am Iron Man. I am Iron Man. Iron Man. Tuck him in the car. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you very much.